In our next segment, a family decides to move to a foreign language field. Does this prove to be a wise decision for them? Let's see how things turn out.
Donc, on nous pas suspend faire ça qui bien parce que l'aile est arrivée, n'a récolté si nous pas
quitter fati. Si nous pas quitter fati, poten aller.
Hey you, are you ready? The Haitian community in our area was growing, and a new Haitian Creole congregation was formed nearby. We checked out their territory and saw they needed a lot of help.
Step on over.
So, should we do this?
I've been praying for more studies. I think this might just be my answer.
Yeah?
I'm in.
Good. Then as soon as we get home, we can pray about it. Our new language was exciting.
Ooh, it was exciting, their new language of Haitian Creole. So we are following the adventures of a fictional family who have decided to get involved in the foreign language field. This is a dramatization in the April 2023 JW broadcasting episode. And I guess what irritates me, well, first of all, you have this depiction of essentially a young man being indoctrinated. Goodness knows what opportunities with higher education and to further his future prospects are being denied him because he's roped into this cult that he's been born into. But what most irritates me about this dramatization is the mixed messages. This organization apparently cannot make its mind up about what to do with the foreign language field.
In June 2020, it was announced that all branches would evaluate their foreign language and indigenous language pre-groups, groups, and congregations. The recent evaluation showed that some foreign language and indigenous language groups and congregations had existed for years and yet had few or no publishers who were dependent on the language. In other cases, the territory was very scattered, so publishers and pioneers had to travel long distances to find someone who could speak the language. Despite all of this effort, there were few Bible studies and few interested ones, if any, who attended meetings. What was Jehovah's Spirit telling us? It would be better to use our efforts in other fields. Thus, such pre-groups, groups, and congregations were dissolved. At one time, we may have thought that the largest increase was taking place in foreign language or indigenous language fields, but as we've considered the matter more carefully, it seems that congregations in the main languages of many countries are experiencing the largest numbers of newly baptized disciples.
So which is it? Is it a yay or a nay for the foreign language field? And I know what you're all saying. You're all thinking, well, hang on, Lloyd, this is now an ex-governing body member. You're showing old light. Isn't it quick? Isn't it amazing how quickly something can potentially become old light? We've just been watching a governing body update from 2021, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, a then governing body member was telling us essentially, I don't think I'm paraphrasing too much, essentially that the foreign language or indigenous language field was a waste of time. And that In order to make their blows count, Jehovah's Witnesses should be consolidating their efforts in the main language groups, or in the groups in the languages that are basically the acknowledged languages of the countries in question. And yet now we have a dramatization in 2023 that's promoting the foreign language field, showing a young family getting involved in a Haitian Creole foreign language group in their country. So again, my question would be, which is it? Are they for foreign language fields or against them? I think that there has been indecision on this in the governing body, and I think this indecision is just obvious in the mess that we've just been looking at. And I could show you at least one more example of the foreign language field being promoted after Tony Morris had given that update. I think there's indecision, and I think part of it has to do with what we see as this dramatization unfolds. I think they recognize that when Jehovah's Witnesses commit to a congregation or group where they are having to learn a language in addition to keeping up their indoctrination on a week-by-week basis, it causes problems. It takes you out of, temporarily, this unending stream, this unending flow of indoctrination that your mind is constantly subjected to as a Jehovah's Witness. When you have to suddenly start preparing for meetings in a completely different language, and you're going to meetings and so much of what's being said is just white noise, it's the perfect environment for you to start questioning things and think, hang on, do I really believe this? You know, what are my actual beliefs? That's essentially how I got into activism to begin with. That's essentially how I got out of Jehovah's Witnesses. It was by moving to Croatia and being in a situation where I was like, oh yeah, I'll learn Croatian. You know, I can do that. I'll make the transition really quickly and it won't affect my faith one bit. And that is not what happened. It was the perfect opportunities for me to finally wake up. And as we're going to see in this dramatization, I think the governing body has at least at one point been concerned about the effect of the foreign language field when it comes to particularly young people and the need for young people to just constantly be getting their indoctrination. In other words, they want only people who are rock solid in their indoctrination to be getting involved in the foreign language. If it's a young person who needs this constant flow of indoctrination in order to develop into a Jehovah's Witness, they would rather this young person be temporarily taken out of the foreign language or have reduced involvement in the foreign language field so that their spirituality remains strong.
Besides family worship, we attended one meeting a month with our old congregation. Well, honestly, I'm a little worried about Nico. He's having a tough time adapting to our new congregation.
I get it. You know, back when we first joined a foreign language congregation, everything was fun and new. But after a little while, we noticed that our kids had lost their enthusiasm. They were still hearing about Jehovah, but honestly, they weren't learning because it wasn't in their language.
Is that why you moved back?
It was, but every family is different. We each have to decide what's best for our own.
Thanks. That's true. I found the perfect article to help us decide what to do. It mentioned the example of Daniel. He had to speak different languages every day, but he made sure to study in Hebrew, his language. The article mentioned Psalm 119:11. In my heart I treasure up your saying. For Nico to treasure God's word in his heart, we felt he needed even more guidance in the language of his heart.
How encouraging it was to be reminded that when we make a decision, we can always make adjustments later.
Can we really, Jeffrey? If you say so. So yes, I think this is the dilemma. This is the conflict that the organization has when it comes to the foreign language field. I think on the one hand, they want to keep Jehovah's Witnesses busy, even if it's in an area of the preaching activity that isn't bearing much fruit, that isn't producing many Jehovah's Witnesses. I think similar to the cart preaching, when you walk past Jehovah's Witnesses doing cart preaching, usually no one's interested. I think it's a case of keeping Jehovah's Witnesses on the hamster wheel of activity, even if they're going nowhere, even if they're not really producing results. At least they're busy. At least their minds are focused on the organization. And I think the foreign language field has a utility for the organization in that sense. But I think they have a very real fear, as manifested in this dramatization, that the foreign language field could also have the effect of pulling people away from the organization, particularly as we see here in the case of young people who are still undergoing that process of having their minds coded with Jehovah's Witness indoctrination. And the message here for Jehovah's Witnesses seems to be, yes, the foreign language field is good. Yes, it's something that we would appreciate your help with. But the indoctrination of your children and you maintaining your own indoctrination and loyalty to the organization must always take priority.